Hello and welcome to the Preparing for Success webinar series. Today's webinar is titled Expecting the Unexpected, Building Personal and Professional Resilience, and we are in conversation with Commonwealth Alumnus Paballo Chauke. I'm delighted to be joined today by our alumnus who will be sharing his unexpected post-scholarship journey and advice on staying resilient and seeking new opportunities in unlikely places or in places that perhaps you didn't think you were going to end up necessarily, or perhaps that soon in your journey. So to introduce today's speaker, Pablo is a training coordinator at Malaria Gen, which is a malaria genomic epidemiology network which seeks to create genetic data resources to support the control and elimination of malaria. He works with partners around the world to understand their genomic surveillance knowledge needs and help develop and deliver training courses. He assists teams working in the vector and parasite fields to provide training, support, and capacity development. As malaria champion, Pablo has been part of a campaign with David Beckham in the fight against malaria. He is a 2015 Commonwealth Scholar from South Africa and completed an MSc in Biodiversity, Conservation and Management at the University of Oxford. Pablo, thank you so much for joining us again. This is your second big stint as our alumni guest talking to our scholars this year. Is there anything else you want to add to your bio in your introduction?
First of all, thank you so much, Kirsty, and to the Commonwealth Scholarship for inviting me to this webinar. And thank you so much to all of you for attending today. And I'm looking forward to our honest conversation. I think it's going to be open. There's going to be some lessons between myself and yourself, as well as the attendees and the other Commonwealth scholars as well. So, or alumni rather. So yeah, thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to the chat. You've said it all. I don't know what else to add now, because I'm like, wait, what else have I done? But yeah, I love what I do, and I'm excited to have this conversation with you today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I think actually you've ended on a really important note there, in that you love what you do. We're going to talk a little bit about how your post-scholarship journey was unexpected, but loving what you do is something that should be in everything. And you don't necessarily always know that your perfect job is going to be something that you love. So can you tell us a little bit more about, I'm not going to get hung up on the David Beckham shout out, but we are going to come there. But can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and why you love it?
So I'm passionate about three things. I'm passionate about Africa, science, and education. So in whatever job I do or whatever field I'm in, if I can impact education, Africa, and science, do them in one way or another, I think for me, that's my purpose. And I think purpose evolves and changes over time, right? It's not like you are born and your purpose is written on a script and that's what you have to do all your life. I think you can do it in different fields. You can do it in different subjects. You can do it in different countries. So you don't have to be in the same location to achieve or live your purpose. So yeah, it's for me in my job, I get to do science, which is malaria, genomic surveillance of malaria, whether in the vector or parasite space. I get to do education. So I'm a training coordinator, so organize and run and facilitate and consolidate a fleet of courses that we organize on malaria, be it parasite or vector-based. And we do it for Africa mainly, because malaria impacts Africa a lot more than other countries in the world. Like a bulk of the scourge of malaria is in Africa. Most infections are in Africa. Most deaths are in Africa. So more children under 5 every minute, according to statistics, die from malaria in Africa. So with the current job that I have, even though I'm based in the United Kingdom, I work with partners from Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, Gambia, and other African countries to work on eliminating malaria in our lifetime, because that's the goal. It's how do we raise funds? How do we come up with the science and the solutions, the vaccines, the knowledge, that create the data that public health officials can use to impact global health, particularly in the field of malaria. So yeah, I love what I do, because I think even though I'm a small part of it, I make a difference.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think it's really important, that point you've made about kind of identifying kind of your purpose and sort of really working out what do I want to do. You've mentioned there that you might be a small part of a bigger process, but doing your part and doing it well, and knowing that what you're doing is meeting kind of your own personal goals for what you want to be doing, as well as perhaps professional ones that the wider organisation has. It's really important to come to that. We're going to talk a little bit today about kind of resilience and things that come with that, but also what unexpected can look like. So you've just described this really incredible job that you love, that hits your purpose in all the different ways. But this isn't when you graduated the job that you thought you were doing. So what was that dream job back in 2016?
Ooh, now you're taking me back, because I think obviously I'm in a different space now, literally in many ways than one. So I studied conservation at the University of Oxford. So I read for an MSc or Masters of Science in Biodiversity Conservation and Management. And that was related to my background in environmental geographical sciences. My aim and my passion back then, again, was science education and Africa, but in a different way. I wanted to be a conservationist. My aim was to save rhinos. So we have an issue of rhino poaching in South Africa and in Mozambique and Zimbabwe, Botswana, etc., but particularly in South Africa, because that's where I'm from. I wanted to be a conservationist, and I wanted to help curb the issue of rhino poaching. And I went back to South Africa after my graduation from Oxford in 2016. And I'm here, I'm back with all this knowledge, all these skills, all this passion, all this fire to save the rhinos. And I get there and I start applying for jobs. I start going back to my networks and asking for opportunities and saying, hey, I want to work for a protected area or for sand parks or any other sort of game reserve where I can do the passion and the work of rhino poaching, anti-rhino poaching work. And certainly from my end, I was unsuccessful. And this happened for at least a year, or more even, like a year and a half, where I applied for jobs, I tapped into networks, I tapped into a lot of my resources to try and get a job in the conservation space, until I got to a space where I was like, okay, maybe I do have a purpose in Africa science and education, but it might not be in conservation or it's in how I see it. Hence, I'm saying purpose evolves and changes depending on conditions and what's happening in your life and around you, because it's not just about you as an individual, it's about the world and what the market is asking for. So yeah, I pivoted. I had to pivot, and that's why I am where I am now. I changed careers and I went into bioinformatics, which is something that I didn't study. I had to Google what bioinformatics means and do short courses and watch videos on YouTube to teach myself and learn this new career that something in me was like, try this. And I tried that. I've traveled the world because of it. I've published academic papers with really other amazing scholars and leading scholars in the field. You can Google me on this. So it's it means adapting, pivoting, and allowing your purpose to evolve as it's meant to, but also you drive it as well. So it's not like you sit back and be like, oh, I feel sorry for myself, or I don't know what to do. It's actively asking for help, actively changing and doing things that are going to allow you to realize your new purpose that you can achieve.
Absolutely. I think there's quite a lot that you've shared in there to unpack, but I think one of the key things that resonates is that purpose evolves. You sort of, you said these are the three things I wanted to do: education, science, Africa. That's my purpose. And then with this dream job, it was still Africa, science, education. And then with this new job, you're still doing that. But how you're applying and how you're understanding your purpose, that's what's evolving. But you've never gotten away from those three core things that make you happy and that you want to contribute to. I think another thing that you kind of sort of touched on there is around sort of the willingness to realize that something perhaps isn't working. And you talked a bit about sort of teaching yourself new skills. What was that like? Obviously, you'd finished your master's and you had this specific set of skills and knowledge that are no less valid because you can't use them where you thought you were going to. But how did you sort of marry what you were bringing from the master's and the scholarship with some of this new stuff that you needed to start to investigate and learn?
I think skills are transferable. Nothing is a waste. I think by dint of doing a postgraduate degree, whether be it a master's, an MBA, a PhD, as I've seen, some of our audience members are doing their PhD, some are doing their masters, and one of them is doing an MBA. You can study to be an MBA and end up in a field that's completely different, because I think the discipline that you learn during your different degrees and postgraduate degrees allows you to transfer, because you need to be disciplined in any job, one. So that's what you learn, right? Determination, communication skills, writing skills, qualitative and quantitative skills. So I think writing either a journal paper or a thesis or research paper, those skills you're going to use in whatever job you do, whether you're an engineer or you're a doctor or a geographer or a chemist, as I've seen the different fields that some of you are doing. It doesn't matter what you studied. I mean, obviously it's important, and that's why the Commonwealth spends so much money on us. It's because obviously that education is very important, but it doesn't mean you have to be stuck in, oh, I studied geography, therefore all I have to do is maps. No, 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 you can study geography and end up being a CEO of a financial company. Your dreams are valid. So what you study doesn't have to limit. So of course, there are some professional degrees, like, I mean, I'm sorry to say, I studied conservation. I don't think I can be a heart surgeon. There are some jobs that that require you to have those particular degrees, but most of the jobs outside of the professional ones, like law, I can't wake up tomorrow and say, I'm passionate about law. I need to study law. But most jobs, though, however, are not like that. The skills that you learn from law, even, you can study law and then end up being an English teacher or an English professor, you know what I mean? So it doesn't mean that because you studied law that you have to do law, but I just wanted to give the caveat that some of them do require you. But yeah, every skill is transferable. Nothing is a waste. Um, be willing to pivot. Be willing to dream again, to dream anew, to change your goals, to mourn your old self. Because I think we are different people at different stages in our lives. And sometimes as kids, we dream, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a policeman or woman, or I want to be an engineer. But then life happens that even if you studied engineering, somehow you can't, out of your own control, or even if your control, maybe you fail, or um, maybe you look for a job in your country and there's a lot of unemployment and you can't get a job in engineering. It's okay to pause and own the fact that, yes, I wanted to be an engineer, and mourn that. Mourning is not just about death. You can mourn your former self and your past self. Um, but then how you get through and how you survive that is by understanding that life, the only constant in life is change. And I think it's, how do you gel with that change? How do you flow with it to a point that you can still live a fulfilling, impactful, purposeful life with the purpose that has evolved?
I think they're really important words there. And again, a lot in what you're sort of saying and sort of sharing there is particularly around nothing is a waste, and I think that's really important, that you've got all these skills and knowledge that you might have from your scholarship, but some of those soft skills, that discipline that you mentioned there, that's really important, and you take that with you to anything, whether it's something that you're really comfortable and well versed in, or when you're learning a new skill, you take that discipline with you, and it is what kind of helps you grow. And you've mentioned as well about tapping into your networks, kind of using your networking skills and the people that you know to try and find new job opportunities, or just meet new people, meet people that you wouldn't otherwise. So again, it's those soft skills really coming into play, that perhaps when you can't get your perfect job, that's not working out, what else do you have? Really drill down. What do you know? What can you do? Because the title of your master's or your PhD is not all you can do. And I think really understanding that the title of your dream job isn't the only job that you can do, or the only way that you can sort of enact change. There's so many different opportunities. I know when we've spoken before, we talked a little bit about sort of, again, sort of learning new skills, and volunteerism was something that I know that you raised as quite valuable and something to do with time. So at what point did you start to think, I need to start to learn some new skills. I can't quite get into formal employment right now. How did you start to think about volunteerism as part of your career plan?
I think so. Thank you, Kirsty, for those questions and additions to our conversation. I think firstly, I want to say carefully though, not all of us are meant to have jobs, as in not all of us, let me rephrase that, not all of us are meant to be employed in other people's institutions or companies. Some of us are actually meant to be business people, entrepreneurs, founders, innovators. So I think keep that at the back of your mind, that sometimes a block in not getting a job or a difficulty in getting employment might mean or might be a sign from life or from the universe or whatever you believe in, that perhaps you should explore different fields, not just being employed, but actually starting, which I understand, again, is not easy because you need capital, you need networks, and you need all of that to have to participate in. But perhaps in your thinking as an individual, as an alumni, as a scholar, do not limit yourself to getting a job and working for someone else. It's okay to dream beyond that and say, I actually want to run my own business, or I want to innovate something. Because some of us are creative, some of us are inventors, some of us are scientists that can actually create something that can benefit the world. But back to your question about volunteering, I just wanted to put that there. I think throughout my studies, either undergraduate or postgraduate, whether at the University of Cape Town or in Oxford, I used to volunteer at the Disability Center, to work with people living with disabilities, where I'd be a transcriber of notes, or I'd help them walk from one building to the next, etc. So it's giving back, but also learning soft skills and empathy. So it's not just about you sitting down and reading for your studies or going to a field and doing field work or being in the lab and using a pipette. It's about tutoring for free, where you help high school or even some university students with mathematics, English, or whatever subject you are more skilled in. I think those things teach you, again, besides your degree and the skills that you learn during your degree, it teaches you emotional intelligence. It teaches you also the skills that you are sharing. So if you are a tutor or you work with a home, or like an old age home, for instance, or a charity. There's a lot of charities in the United Kingdom, for those of you that have been involved, other Oxfam. I'm not going to promote other charities, sorry, I'm being careful, but there are many charities that you can volunteer in. And I think those, you can put that on your CV, one, and those skills and networks as well are important in when you want to apply for grants in future or funding and jobs or start your own business. You show funders, you show employers that you are not just interested in yourself, that you actually want to contribute to the development of the world. And I think that also speaks to what the Commonwealth Scholarship is trying to do, right? It's not just about your individual. So yes, we are helping you. I'm going to pick on someone, Jacqueline or Henry or Cyprian. I'm seeing your names in the room. That yes, it's about your PhD and you graduating. It's about your MBA or your master's degree in chemistry, but it's about how do you use your degree when you go back home to impact your society. It's not just about you, right? It's about how do you use your skills and your knowledge that you've gained, whether be it in the UK or in your own country or other countries, to give back to those who are less fortunate in your country. And you can do that through volunteering. And I think that can also help you in periods of, let's say you're struggling to get a job, instead of just sitting at home and rotting away and feeling sorry for yourself. And because, by the way, challenges like unemployment and struggling to get opportunities and rejection can affect your mental health. So moving out and going to charity events, and donating your time, because even if you don't have the finances at that moment, you can feel, again, I'm going to use the word purpose, that you are contributing to something bigger than yourself, that yes, things might not be easy for you at that moment, but you can actually give back to someone else other than you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think really, again, more important messages and advice there about kind of volunteerism, seeing it as sort of so much more of an opportunity to be kind of learning new skills, meeting new people, seeing it as something that is helping others. A lot of charities that offer volunteerism can't get the skills that they need because people want to be paid for them. And this is a great opportunity to be providing something for a charity that might not exist without people who give their time. One of the greatest gifts in life is time. It's the best thing that you can give somebody, and sometimes it's the best thing that you can give yourself. And I know you've mentioned there that sort of mental health and well-being is so critical at these moments where things don't go right. And we really want to address the importance of taking the time to work through that and work through those emotions and acknowledge that, and kind of slowly, you mentioned kind of grief, come to terms with the change that's happening and that it's not perhaps going to plan, but use that time for your mental health and your well-being, and then use it to get out and to just meet people and start to sort of feel your way forward as well. And of course, with mental health, we would encourage anybody that is having any sort of mental health problems to find sort of charities or other organizations that can support you, build that support network around you as well, friends, family. There is absolutely no shame in saying to somebody, this hasn't really gone to plan and I'm not really sure what to do, and it's making me feel like this, and sort of going out to that. And I think that kind of point leads to a sort of another question that I wanted to ask you, and that's kind of, what does sort of personal resilience look like to you? Sort of based on sort of your own experiences and sort of your own building of your resilience as well.
Thank you for that, Kirsty. So according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, resilience is an ability to recover or adjust easily from misfortune or to change. And remember what I said earlier, change is the only constant in life. Mm. For me, resilience is a muscle. So similar to, certainly I don't gym, but for people that do muscles, you get at the gym, you have to exercise, you have to train to grow your muscles. And resilience, similar to the body muscle or the physical muscle that we have, gets stronger with time and practice. You cannot read or wishy-washy your way or wish your way or whatever into resilience. It comes with experience and the ability to bounce back. So I think of a stretching band. It's the ability to bend without breaking. So it's how that happens is, if you aimed to get 80% for a course, but you get 50 or you fail, but then it's about, ooh, what did I do wrong? What did I learn from that failure? How do I bounce back from this? How do I actually come back again to say, okay, I didn't achieve what I wanted to at first, but how do I make sure that next time I either do or get close as possible to achieving the goal that I had? So for me, personal and professional resilience are linked, because whether we like it or not, and I said this at the farewell event, that failure is part of life, and be it personal or professional, we all fail many times. And I think there's something that Denzel Washington likes saying, says, fail fast and fail forward, right? So like when you fall forward so that you can get back up and continue again, but also fail fast, because I think sometimes the fear of failing holds you to not dream and prevents you from actually being daring in life and attempting things that you wouldn't otherwise. So I think it's deal with the fear of failure, understand that whether you like it or not, in different areas of your life, you will fail, but you need to be resilient of that, or rather from that failure. So if failure comes, you need to be able to bounce back to say, okay, I applied for a job, I got rejected, that's failure. But then how do I not let that define me? How do I actually use this experience to redefine what success means, and to bounce back as well?
Yeah, I think that's a really great way to sort of think about the importance of resilience and how you sort of might need to, I guess, apply it or trigger it at those moments. And I think bounce back ability, that's a great example of it. But also the points there about being a lifelong learner. We are all learning all the time. No one ever really 100% knows what they're doing in the moment that they're doing it. It's very rare for anyone to be in a job or a workplace where you're not constantly thinking or problem solving or reapplying something. And I think the examples that you shared there about, kind of being a learner, but also learning from when things go wrong. If you don't get a job, get feedback, learn from the feedback. There's a lot of times that employers want to say to you, it was this particular thing or that particular thing, or actually, it's the time and moment that you applied. There were other candidates, and this was the situation. Not everything is because you couldn't do it. And I think it's learning some of those points as well, and just making sure that you're asking for that feedback so that you can learn and you can bounce back and you can sort of find these opportunities as well. I guess kind of we're sort of coming to the sort of the end of this more formal discussion. So please do, if people have questions or comments, please do use the chat box. Otherwise, we'll just keep going, quite frankly, because there's so much to talk about just under this topic, this umbrella. You've talked a little bit, well, we talked at the start about dream job, reality, and how, you're still achieving your purpose and the things that you wanted to. And I guess in some ways, this question, you might not want to answer it because the answer might be nothing. But if you could do it all again, what would you change, or would you just not change it? Do you think the experience was worth it?
Oof. Okay, I'm gonna answer it, and I hope I'm not gonna be too long. If I could do it all over again, what could I change? I think be less naive and trusting of the system. So I used to believe that education is the key to success. I still do. Hence, I'm passionate about education because I've seen I think Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. And it is. Like, if you want to solve poverty, development issues, if you want to solve diseases, most things, literally everything in life needs education, because I think that's how you share skills, knowledge, and expertise, right? But I think in some instances, it's not the only thing. It's part of it. It's not the only. So it doesn't mean if you get a PhD and you get distinctions that, oh, you now have the key to success. There are other things that you require. So as I said, it's understanding that I'm not an island or an exception to the rule. I'm part of a whole and a complex system, if you will. So for me, I think it's also understanding the importance of luck in success and achieving your goals. So I think luck is one of the most important ingredients for succeeding. Hard work, talent, and discipline are essential, but I don't think they're enough on their own. James Baldwin said something, and I'm going to quote him, open quote, talent is insignificant. I know a lot of talented ruins. Beyond talent lie all the usual words: discipline, love, luck, but most of all, endurance. Close quote. So according to James Baldwin, yes, you need to be talented, but the other ingredients that you need are discipline, love, you need to love what you do, endurance, so you need to be able to, again, that's resilience as well, you need to be able to bounce back, but luck. And what is luck? Luck is not some wishy-washy mumbo-jumbo rhetoric. It has to do with material, historical, and so much more issues. So Seneca says, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. So you need to actually study, you need to apply, you need to ask for feedback, as you said, Kirsty, earlier. You need to do things, you need to prepare for your luck to sort of click, right? So luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So it's not just one or the other. It's when two of them link up and magic happens. But I think resources for preparation and opportunities are not equally distributed. And that means that we don't all have the same access to luck, inverted commas. And thus, the chances of success are not the same. Some of the hardest working people are unsuccessful, and some mediocre people are successful. And I think it has to do, again, with the issue of luck. And for me, luck is the cultural, social, political, human, and moral capital. And these capitals were explained by sociologist Pierre Bourdieu. He's a French sociologist who passed away in 2002, I think. But these capitals explain what luck is. So cultural capital and social capital would mean I went to Oxford, and at Oxford, I'm not even making this up. I studied with children of presidents, of ministers, of secretary generals of the World Health Organization. So there's people that are powerful, and that in itself allows me to navigate certain spaces that otherwise I wouldn't be able to, and that's part of my luck, right? So for me, okay, so in my answer to you then to say, what would I change? It's understanding the importance that, yes, I have a degree, and yes, I went to top institutions such as UCT and Oxford, but I need to know about the luck and need to work hard to tap into that luck. So it's not just, as I said, it's not some wishy-washy. It's about tapping into those networks. It's being shameless. It's one of the things that I like saying. It's being shameless and saying, hey, President's son, I'm looking for a job. And sometimes people have power and have skills and have keys to doors that you wouldn't otherwise have, and have seats at tables that you wouldn't otherwise have. So it's being shameless about talking to your classmates, talking to your professors, talking to people that you met during the scholarship, at the CSC events, chevening events, and actually asking for help and assistance and making your own luck, right? So again, I'm going to use what Seneca said. It's luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So prepare, prepare, prepare. And then when the opportunity strikes, your luck forms a combustible magic for your success.
There's so much in that answer that I think there's so many different factors that you just highlighted there, and really sort of showcasing that there's so much more that needs to go on than just getting a degree and applying for a job that sounds like it would be the perfect fit for the degree. There are so many different elements that need to be considered, and sometimes we don't take the time to sit down and actually consider those and to think how it all fits together, how that kind of opportunity and preparation can meet for sort of that luck, that moment where it does sort of all jigsaw in. But I think also to come back to a point that you've sort of raised a few times is you've got to go back to your purpose. Is this still going to fit the purpose? If all of this comes together and I look here rather than there, is my purpose still the same? And will that still bring me the happiness that I'm kind of seeking as well? Yeah, I think there's just so much there, and a lot of people to go away and sort of Google and quotes to read up on, and sort of other theories around that to sort of see. But again, it's all down to the preparation. It's all down to taking the time to plan it out and to think it all through. I'm going to come to sort of the last sort of question that I had, and I'm just going to encourage attendees again, please do use the chat box. If anyone doesn't want to put their question into the public chat, that's absolutely fine. You can message me directly. So please, again, use this opportunity whilst we have Paballo to sort of answer directly to any questions that you have. Thinking about who our attendees are, we talked about we've got some PhD scholars on, we've also got some master scholars who are possibly using this as a bit of time away from their dissertation, or a bit of a sort of moment to breathe in between sort of those last minute things that we're doing, thinking about the end of studies, but also preparing to come home. What kind of do you think are the sort of essential things that you would give someone advice to in that position of sort of looking to come home? What should you be doing right now? What's the best use of that time? Or what might someone not think to do that you think is really important but doesn't perhaps naturally come to mind at this stage in the scholarship or the studies?
Thank you for that question, Kirsty. In summary, expect the unexpected. Oscar Wilde says, to expect the unexpected shows a thoroughly modern intellect. So by expecting the unexpected, whether good or bad, because life brings or throws curveballs at you, expect the unexpected, expect amazing things, but also expect some challenges, and expect, so it's don't, because I think that's perhaps leading back to the question that you asked about what would I change. I was a bit naive. I had assumed that I I thought things were going to be perfect because I'm from Oxford and I'm a Commonwealth scholar. The unexpected was I was going to struggle to get a job for me, right? And that doesn't mean that it's going to happen to everyone, but I think as an individual or as someone who um, is a change maker, you do have to expect the unexpected. That's the way of life. And those expected things, unexpected things, or expected ones can be both good or bad. So it's about then being able to, if it's good, continue on that path. But if it's bad, how do you pivot? How do you bounce back and show your resilience? My advice is practical. Communicate with your circle. So in closing, because most of you are going back home, for those of you that are not back there yet, email your professors, email people that you've made friends with and say, hi, I'm leaving. I'm going back to Kenya. I'm going back to Bangladesh. I'm going back to Pakistan. I'm going back to Nigeria. I'm mentioning the countries that also that are attending today. And here's my email, my personal email, because most of you maybe have been using your institutional email in the UK. So share your personal email, share your Twitter, share your LinkedIn, so your professional networking networks, but also Twitter as well and Facebook. We can be a good way to stay in touch with people, but also for people to share opportunities with you, right? Share your number if you're comfortable with that, for people to WhatsApp you, so that then maybe one day you met a friend from India and you are from Zanzibar or from Zambia, then you can say, hey, I'm visiting a park or I'm visiting for a conference. You can ring them up and meet up for coffee. And that's how actually you grow your network. And that's, by the way, that's part of your luck. So keep in touch with those people. Let them know now how to stay in touch with you so that when you get back home, even when things are either easy or not easy, you know that there are other people that are re-entering their own countries and experiencing similar or different culture shocks. And they can touch base with you, say, oh, by the way, even though we are in different countries, um, we experience the same in terms of re-entry because the food tastes different, the language is different. Um, I'm also struggling to get a job. Oh, by the way, I got promoted. How amazing is that? So it's, again, as I said, expect the unexpected. So communicate with people, let them know now how to get in touch with you. My biggest thing, which actually helped me, was staying in touch with the Commonwealth Scholarship. So Kirsty, by the way, you might not know this, but I used to get your emails for the Commonwealth alumni. And I think those opportunities, those meetings, whether webinars or, you know what I mean, the newsletter, read up on those, read up about what other alumni are doing in the world, apply for opportunities. I know there are some fellowships and grants and awards that are given to alumni. Apply for those. Put yourself out there. Do not be shameless. Do not be ashamed. And for me also, I joined the South African CSC or Commonwealth Scholarship Alumni Networks, where we actually created, because there wasn't a network per se for South Africa specifically, we created one for that, for the region of South Africa, that are returning scholars into South Africa, knew that there was a team of people that are here to welcome them. So join those. If there are physical meetings, so I remember the British Council used to invite us to events where we get to network and go to those. Do not, whatever's happening in your life, whether good or bad, whether you're starting to get a job or you are pivoting careers or remaining in your own career and growing or starting your own business, the Commonwealth Scholarship is there for you for life. It's, yes, they paid for your studies in the UK, but the journey doesn't end there. You know what I mean? So it's doing something similar to what I do as well. It's constantly emailing people like Kirsty, and asking for opportunities either to speak or to volunteer, or it's stay in touch, that even though you are not necessarily, it has nothing to do with your degree or your job, again, you are giving back and paying it forward to the scholarship that literally, I'm sure you can agree with this, changed your life. But yeah, my advice is stay in touch with virtual and physical networks as much as you can. And I think those will be your safety net, and carry you and hold you and assist you when you experience the expected as well as the unexpected.
think that's really great advice and really important, again, emphasizing that communication and the importance of networks. And I know our other speakers who've joined us for the other sessions have talked about the importance of those support networks, people that you can go to and be really honest with and have as safe spaces. And absolutely, I would hope for anyone on the call that this series and having such incredible speakers joining us, such as Paballo today, talking about their passion and their purpose and how incredible their job is, knowing that they might have gone through sort of difficult periods as well, and that it's completely normal to go through that. The alumni network is your space to talk about that, because every alumnus will have experienced something that was unexpected and might have been challenging, and they're there to share that advice. So absolutely, I really do sort of plug the networks and the communities as a sort of core piece of advice as well. You also touched on, I can see we do have a question, we are going to come to it, but you also sort of mentioned about reverse culture shock and sort of being prepared for that. And I wonder, is there any advice that you can offer for some of the more specifics around sort of reverse culture shock, going home and not having been there for a year, and things change, people change as well, friends, family change in that period?
I think you've said it, Kirsty. People and things change, and sometimes it's unexpected. It's people, your long life friendships are gonna need, some of them you might need to let go of, because the year is a long time, and I think change is the only constant, right? But it's about going back and trying to rebuild those relationships, because some of the people you maybe might have not seen for a year or two, depending on how long you were away for. So again, it's about being aware that some people might have moved on without you, and it hurts. And I think we're social beings, we require companionships. So sometimes if your friend, when you go back, so I'll give a specific example. When I was in the UK, and by coming to the UK, I traveled a lot. So my passport, I have two passports now because one of them is full of stamps. Lucky me, I know, traveling the world. But what that means is the average South African, where I'm from, doesn't really get to leave the country. So when you now start speaking about, oh, the Great Wall in China, oh, Big Ben in London, for them, yes, maybe they might have watched movies or heard about it, but they haven't seen it or touched it. And I think that difference is about respecting the fact that people come from different social classes or different reasons as to why they haven't experienced what you have. So it's how do you have conversations with them without sounding like you're bragging, or rubbing it in their faces that, yes, the UK is amazing, you worked hard to get here, but then how do you narrate that story without making people feel alienated or feel bad or jealous even? So I think it's being careful how you navigate conversations about your really amazing experiences that you've had in the UK, to a point where you don't offend or make people feel as though they are less than. So yes, it's amazing that you got the Commonwealth Scholarship and that you studied at amazing institutions, but I think be empathetic and have high EQ whenever you have those conversations with your friends or family even, because for some of you, you are first generation graduates, you are first graduation travelers. So it's about how do you gracefully share your experience and even try and motivate and show people that perhaps even they can do similar things as well. I think then the other culture shock is, so there's a reason why most LMICs, now that's a term that we use, low middle income countries, were used to be called developing countries. So simple things like electricity, where in the UK, since I've been here, even when I was studying here 10 years ago, was never a thing, like a problem. Like, isn't I just put on a plug and lights come on. But in some LMICs, this power cuts are a normal thing, right? Which impact the economy, which impact how you work. Because, for instance, if I didn't have electricity now, I wouldn't be able to log on, um, or do work, or send emails, or do research, etc. So electricity is something that for privileged people or people in the UK, for instance, we don't think about. But for some people in some African countries, or in Pakistan, for instance, I have a friend from Pakistan. In Pakistan, electricity is an issue. So coming from the UK, where you came here, you were shocked that electricity is not an issue, but now you have to go back to a country where electricity is an issue, might be a bit of and that talks about development and infrastructure and basic necessities that are taken for granted in countries like the UK in Europe, but then when they go back home, it's going to be like, oh no, that public transport doesn't work as well or as smoothly. The internet doesn't work as well or smoothly. So it's about adjusting to the fact that you've had a good time and experienced what life can be like. Because by the way, I think most of us are going to be part of that change in our own countries. When we go back to South Africa, to Nigeria, to Bangladesh, to Ghana, we are the ones that are going to be the reason why electricity is no longer an issue. We're going to be the reason why the metro rail is going to work better. We're going to be the reason why, because of our research, because of our work, because of our businesses, because of our volunteering, because of our resilience, because of our dreaming. You know what I mean? So I think it's about knowing that we are part of the solution. But at first, it's going to be shocking. At first, it's going to be scary. At first, it's going to be frustrating. At first, it's going to be anxious. And you know what I mean? It's going to induce some anxiety in you. So I think it's about being prepared for that and going home and knowing there will be those differences and shocks that, yes, you might have grown up there and you might have known that those challenges, but you've left and come to a country where those challenges are not as much or don't exist. And now you're going to be going back into them. But I think then this wakes you up to the fact that you are the solution, you are the change that is needed in your own country. So go back and let's be the change that we want to see in our own countries with the skills we got gladly and appreciatively from the United Kingdom.
Thank you so much. And again, I think sort of you've raised some really important points there around kind of reverse culture shock, but also thinking again about that preparation and just being aware that these things might come to us. There might be anxiety about going home. That's fine. It's part of preparing. It's part of the reverse culture shock. And it just shows that you are giving yourself the space to be ready for that shock when it comes. And it doesn't make it any less of a shock. But it means that you have that ability to know that it might happen and to sort of hopefully be better prepared for it, or to tell people, if you're going home to friends or family, you can say to them, reverse culture shock, it's a thing, I'm going to have some anxieties in these things, so please just be prepared that I might take some time to adjust. And again, talking back about giving yourself time for things as well and communicating that again with everybody. And I think what you mentioned there about sort of being kind of mindful of sort of friends and family and sharing your experiences, and sort of the appropriacy or ways to do that as well. If you want to talk about Big Ben and travelling all around the UK, you have this entire 31,000 alumni that you can talk, for hours about that with. Perhaps with friends and family, you want to think a little bit more about how you share those experiences. But again, that's something that you can prepare for. You can think about how you ask questions about that. Like, what would you like to know about my UK experience? And how would you like me to talk to you about it if you're worried about sort of some of those reactions as well? So lots of sort of things to think about and again to prepare for, so that when you get back, you can have the most successful start you possibly can on your return home. Coming to, I've not forgotten about the chat box. If anyone has more questions, please do just drop them into the chat box. So we do have a question that's come in. Thank you very much for the talk. Before embracing the change, someone could say, well, it seems I made a wrong career choice in the first instance. We've all got that relative that will say that to us around those things. How to stop that having an impact on the upcoming change? I think that's a really important question. How do we sort of take that perhaps criticism that you made the wrong decision a year ago or 5 years ago and still go forward with, I need to pivot or I need to change?
A very important question, and I think it can be answered in many ways. Thank you, Cyprian, for that question. But I don't think mistakes, so I'm trying to frame this in a way that I don't think you can say you made a wrong career choice. So maybe other people can say that, right? But I think, as I said, purpose evolves. So I can be a training coordinator now, and then 5 years from now, I'm like, I want to be a lawyer, and then I go back to school to study law, or I say, actually, no, I want to be a culture strategist, or I want to be a director of HR. So I want to change and pivot my career. It doesn't mean then that what I do currently is wrong. It means I've evolved. So perhaps then my answer to you would be, again, it's remembering that purpose evolves. It doesn't stay the same. And mistakes do not necessarily happen when it comes to, because even if you say it's a mistake that you studied medicine or became a doctor, the skills, again, as we said earlier with Kirsty, the skills are transferable. Yeah, so I would say deal with that feeling, of feeling that it's a mistake, and know that it's not a mistake. Know that no experience is useless or is a waste. That you can repackage whatever experience you have, whether good or bad. You can rebrand, repackage, and pivot to suit your narrative, to suit your story, to suit your future, and to suit your change. And as we've said as well, change is the only constant. So yeah, I would repeat to say that I don't think career choices can be mistakes. I think you can evolve from your current or your previous career choices to new ones. And then it doesn't mean we should speak badly or ill of what we did in the past, as though it's a sort of a bad mark on us. It's saying, no, 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 whatever experience I've had, whether I enjoyed it or I didn't, can actually be used to enhance and benefit me and society as a whole.
Thank you so much. I think that's a really great way to think about perhaps those challenges that we might get from people about, if we have to change what we want to do in the interim. Doesn't mean you can't go back to your original dream job. It just means in the interim, you're seeing your skills differently, you're applying your time differently, and it's all learning and it's all useful. And as long as it fits your purpose, as long as you're still getting your purpose and your passion in there, it is time well spent. Nothing is a waste. I think that's something that we've
Nothing is
really learned
always.
from you. On that note, I'm going to bring us to the end of today's webinar. So if anyone had any burning questions that they haven't managed to get into the chat box, you have until I finish speaking to get that in there, and we can go back and we'll pick up the question, don't worry. I think huge thanks to our speaker today, to Paballo, for joining us and for so many wise words and a lot of honesty and sharing your experiences as well. I think we've all learned a lot more about personal resilience, what it is, how people can choose to define it in lots of different ways. It's a very personal thing, but there are some core points that you have sort of rightly shared with us today around kind of bounce back ability, and how we learn from sort of things that go wrong from these challenges. And I think also you've really highlighted the importance of preparation, and just kind of knowing that change happens, it's the constant, and being ready to embrace it whenever we can and to learn from it, and finding really rewarding opportunities in some of the challenges and in changing what we do. We can change our mind. It's something that we can do, but nothing that's happened before suddenly becomes kind of separate to that change. It's all part of it. Just kind of really learning that. I'd also like to just use this as an opportunity just to, again, flag the importance of mental and physical well-being. If you do sort of come across sort of challenges at any point in time in life, but particularly whilst you're looking to return home, if you're having kind of anxieties about that before you've even started to go home, or if it's something that comes later, please do sort of have your support networks around you, have people that you can talk to. If you can't talk to friends and family, please do sort of reach out to sort of others that you trust to share the information with, or do some research on organisations that you can go to as well. Your networks are really important when things are tough, but they're also really important to celebrate you and your achievements when you do find your way through barriers. So that network is always critical, and it should work to support you when things don't go well and to support you when they do as well. Paballo, do we have any final words from you for our scholars to take away?
Oh, the pressure of final words. I think your dreams are valid. It's okay to dream anew and to dream again and to dream something different. None of us are an island. None of us are self-made. And I think maybe because of whatever society we live in, we tend to drive this message that, oh, I did it all by myself. We all need support, be it from family, be it from friends, be it from colleagues, uh, be it from our alumni network, be it from the scholarship, fellowships that we are part of. So do not be scared to ask for help. The worst thing that someone can say is no or ignore you. But I think speak up and speak out. Do not suffer in silence. Celebrate your wins and your successes loudly, but also cry loudly when you need to. Share your challenges, rejections, and failures, but also share your successes. Yeah, you can do this. You are needed in the world and you can make a difference. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I hope to meet some of you face to face one day. And yeah, you are the change that you want to see in the world. And be strong, be resilient. But it's okay to be scared sometimes, but work through the fear as well. Thank you.